Welcome to the First Look seminar going into May 31st, Saturday. And Gino, we have a pick six seminar, not a pick five, because we just had a carryover here at the Great Race Place.
We got some leftovers coming on Saturday. And what's nice this weekend, there's actually no racing in New York because they're going to be all focused on everything that happens next week. So there'll probably be some extra eyeballs, some extra money probably focused on Santa Anita on Saturday now with that carryover. We'll have a big race with Nisos in the feature race. And I think that'll be a big decision for a lot of people. And probably 90% of tickets will single that horse, I think, in a pick six situation tomorrow. So that'll be our approach. Are we going to try to beat him? We're going to use how we're going to put our pick six tickets together. I'm also going to be taking a swing at the coast to coast pick fives. We haven't been doing those as much, but they're still rolling along. And tomorrow you have Gulfstream Park and Santa Anita, and we'll be actually looking at three of the races that are in the coast to coast pick five in the sequence, all three of the Santa Anita races.
And interestingly enough, Skip, before we get into this, I believe that the Coast to Coast paid $60,000 today, and that was with a very, very interesting non-DQ that would have put up a 10-1 shot instead of an 8-5, and it would have paid a heck of a lot more than that. But that's another show to be talked about, Skipper.
Yeah, wow. Those inquiries, you just never know what's going to happen. It's nerve-wracking to be a part of those because it's just tough. I've been on both sides, a good side and a lot more bad sides of those. And we don't need to talk about that right now. But that coast to coast is great. It's a little hot out here right now, but looking forward to this great weekend and can't wait for next weekend, the Belmont Stakes. And hopefully we can make some money this weekend.
Yeah, I had no dog in that fight. But anyways, like you said, very hot today. Cooling down a little bit tomorrow, I believe upper 80s. So hopefully it'll be a little bit more comfortable. But the pick six carryover amount, Gino, 48,869 leading into tomorrow's card.
Yeah, and I believe we start in race number 5, which is not an easy group, but when you have like a low-level group of maidens, right? We're going to have maiden $20,000 claimers going a mile on the dirt in there. And at first glance, looking at the race, there is not much speed at all in this one. Like the horses that we've seen run repeatedly, they have not shown any early speed at all, except for the 3 Toppers at Seaside. That to me is a horse that you have to use in your pick six because this horse could have a couple length lead on the field. I'll probably try to get out of this one, Chappie. Pretty logical and pretty formful. I think just with Toppers at Seaside and Power Play. I mean, Power Play is taking a massive drop in class. This horse has been facing so much better. Does make you a little nervous when you go from maiden special weights all the way down to 20 without sort of stopping at like maiden 50 and taking a shot there once or twice. But I feel like if this horse is even, at 50% of what we saw in some of those races, could be pretty tough in here. So I'll use the speed. I'll use the dropper. I couldn't really get to too many others in here, Skippy. How about you?
Yeah, Gino, I kind of saw it the same way you did. Not a lot of speed at all. Toppers at Seaside, most likely, and looks like going to the front, especially with Kendrick Camouche aboard that's in for winning the George Wolf Award. And, if you follow back east, he likes to put the horses in a good position and on the lead. So definitely the 3 is going to be in the front. Power Play, like you said, it's suspicious they're going from straight maiden to maiden 20. It's not a maiden 50. Racing against Citizens Bowl, Charlie's to Blame, Scipio, a day to remember, who came back and won last weekend. Big drop, a little suspicious, but Mandela does good when he does this. He's got good numbers. Second off the break, 36%. Main special weight to main claiming, 29%. So the only other one that I'm going to use is the 6, Jumper Cables. It's coming off a little break, dropping from main 50 to main 20, going turf to dirt, first time gelding. That might be a little bit sneaky. Ryan Hansen having a good meet, 12-1. I'm going to put that one on my ticket also.
Yeah, like you guys said, it's very interesting when they pay $375,000 for a horse. She's only 3, or he, excuse me, and he's a gelding, and yet they drop all the way down to maiden 20. But like Gino said, even if this horse is 60% of what he is, he fits in this group. So, and Toppers at Seaside, possible lone speed. All right, Skip, let's move on to the second leg, race 6. We're going a mile and an eighth on the turf. Calbred's here. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to go 4 deep in here. Big Mama Sue's the horse to beat. It likes to win, more than most of these. They got, first-time winners, 2 winners out of 35 starts, 2 out of 20. Big Mama Sue's going to be on my ticket, but I'm going to try to beat Big Mama Sue. I'm going to put the 3. She's misbehaving for George Gutierrez here. This horse has 2 wins over the Santa Anita Turf Course, and it's the 3rd race off the break, which that's often a horse's best. I like the jock switch going from Tyler Bays to Ayuso. And this horse has had trouble the last 2 out of 3 starts. That horse at 6-1, definitely going to be on my ticket. Another one is Practical Dazzle, the 5. I love the jock switch, big jock switch here, going Van Dyke to JJ Hernandez. 5's going to be on my ticket. The other one I'm going to add is the 7, Vincero Grande. This horse dropping down in class, or, at least what it's been running against have been better than these. I like that. And so I'm going 3, 5, 7, 8, trying to beat Big Mama Sue, and maybe they can't, but I'm going to try.
3, 5, 7, 8. Gino, a little bit of a tricky race once again in the second leg. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this was a tough one. I have the horses that Skip mentioned. I think you may even want to look at the 2 Ultimate High, whose races long on the grass are very good. I could see this horse sitting a really nice trip because that's an interesting factor in this race. There's not really that much early speed. Like Amanda Rose is stretching out from 4.5 furlong race at Los Al. So you figure she's going to be on the lead, and then everybody might just kind of carve their spot in behind that. So I want to use some of these horses who could be close up early, because that might be how you beat Big Mama Sue and Vincero Grande. Like if they get caught a little too far back, the horses that I think could sit close, Ultimate High, Berry Valley. Berry Valley's a little bit interesting to me on the stretch out. This horse came running late to finish second most recently. Overall, it's kind of comparing some of the races that she exits. She's actually probably faced some of the better company along with Vincero Grande. So yeah, this was a really difficult race. I'm probably going to be 5 or 6 deep. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8 will all be in the mix for me. You're going to have to pick and choose when to shorten up, but the next 2 races will be races where I'll be shortening up a little bit myself.
All right. Okay. So that brings us to, so we said we agree that's a spread race. That brings us to race 7. That's the Triple Bend. So there's 5 horses in here, Gino. Nice Host just comes off a long layoff, runs a huge second at Churchill, and could have chosen to stay out east and run in the Met Mile.
Yep.
Yet comes back here with the Met Mile. I believe the purse is $1 million, correct? And then
might even be higher than that, but I'll check.
Might even be higher. Comes back here, 3 to 5 morning line, running for 100,000 in the Triple Bend. What are your thoughts? What do you make of that? We all watched the last work. It looked very good on May 23rd. He's going to be what, 1 to 5? Your thoughts?
Yeah. So I think he absolutely, obviously towers over this field, right? But that exactly what you hit on concerns me. It worries me a little bit that Baffert is normally so confident with his horses that he would put Nisos in a spot like that. And Nisos ran incredibly in his comeback race. He lost to Mindframe. He ran a monster race that day. I'm going to use one other horse at least in this race, even though it's not necessarily the correct betting thing to do, right? It's not the right way to bet. If you're going to be using a heavy favorite like Nisos, you really shouldn't use multiple horses in the race. It's just not the right way to build your tickets because it ends up costing you too much. I'm going to try to single in a different spot later where other people won't single because, gosh, that makes me nervous. And just knowing the sequence now in a pick 6 carryover sequence, I really do think 90+% of tickets will single this horse. And if you can beat him, that's really where you get some separation. Now, there are some other talented horses in here. Like everyone else in this field is also talented. They're just not quite as proven or as accomplished as Nisos has been. But I mean, Dr. Venkman is really nice. He's a graded stakes winner. We saw him run second in this race last year. And then when he went a little bit longer, that was probably too far for him. Spirit of Machina won this race a couple years back. Smooth Cruisin' just threw up a 98 Beyer speed figure. But I'm actually going to use Vlahos along with Nysos, because I think if Nysos gets beat, I think it's because somebody's in front of him. I don't necessarily think the horses are going to pass, are going to be closing with him and like out kick him. But I could see Vlahos getting aggressive from the inside. And if he can sneak away by a length, and maybe they get a little like, not lazy, but they're just fine tracking a couple lengths behind. And Vlahos could be tough in that situation. So I'm going to use the 1 and the 2 in here just in case.
1, 2, and yeah, Gino's right, Skip. I mean, there really isn't a ton of speed, actually.
They're all pressers.
Right.
And he's the only one that's really like need the lead type. And he's certainly capable of jumping up with big races under the right circumstances.
Yeah.
Right.
Skip, what are your thoughts in here? I mean, obviously, Nysos, if he runs his race, he wins by 5. But it's just very interesting, everything Gino just said about not maybe because the horse is so lightly raced, they're thinking of something keeping this horse fresh down the line for the
right.
I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, Gino makes really good points, as he always does, but I don't know. I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously the Met Mile, that's what we would think, right? Going for $1 million or over $1 million. But maybe since it was at Churchill, racing on a sloppy track, lost by a neck, coming back home, his home surface. I know this race is only 100,000, but Del Mar's right around the corner. The Breeders' Cup's at Del Mar. Maybe he doesn't want to ship this horse too much. Maybe he's just trying to think, okay, let's try to get a win here.
Right.
Go down to Del Mar, win in your in, get ready for the Breeders' Cup. I don't know. I just think Nysos is too good. Best horse in the race, came back to work well, ran giant off the layoff. I've been a big fan of Nysos since before it broke its maiden. I loved it that first race out, and I couldn't believe that I got over 6-1 on this horse. So I'm not going to try to get cute or fancy. I'm not going to try to overthink it. I'm going to single Nysos, and hopefully, I'm right, and the 90% other people, that are going to single it too, because it's 3 to 5 on the line. This horse is going to be probably 99% of the singles. I mean, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think you're right, but like, it's just, and that's got to be the only thing, is because the Breeders' Cup is at Del Mar.
Right. You don't have to go anywhere now.
Very cautious campaign back here. I mean, and they're looking long term. It's just
which still, like, and I completely understand it. I think for me is like being the competitive person and just knowing how Bob kind of is with his horses too, right?
Right.
It's not that it's not the right thing to do. It's just I feel like I've seen him do it differently when
not
he feels
his thing to do.
Right? When he feels real strong, like, this is my horse that's missed a bunch of time. I want him to win some big races. Let's go win the Met, which I think it is $1 million. I was looking. So yeah, there's, maybe I'm thinking too much into it here, but I do think if you're going to beat him, maybe we can get out in front of him. And that's how I'll try to use one other just in case.
And they've always loved this horse, obviously, right? They even love the horse off that long layoff at Churchill, clearly. So it's just, I don't know. Very interesting. All right. Enough of that. So let's move on. Skip, back to you. Race 8. That's his maiden 50 going 6 furlongs on the turf. What are your thoughts in race 8?
I'm going to go 3 deep in here. I'm going to use the 3 Frog. This horse trained really good before it ran, and finally it showed it last time. The first 2 starts were ugly, getting beat 33.5 lengths and 11 3/4 lengths. They put it in front last time on the grass, and it ran really good. And it galloped out good, too. There's not a lot of speed in here, so 3 is going to be on my ticket. Now, a lot of these come out of the same race. I thought Infinity Dream, the 4, probably ran the best out of the ones that ran. Richard Baltas hasn't had a win for this Hollywood Park meet, but he does do second, or really good second off the layoff. 4 Infinity Dream's going to be on my ticket, and it gets off the rail. Last time it was on the rail, it kind of was pinned inside, kind of swung out, turning for home, and finished the best of all. The other one I'm going to use is the one that's coming off the break for Michael McCarthy also. He's got 2 in here. this horse I almost like better than the other one. Coming off the break, hasn't missed a beat in the morning, getting legged up over at San Luis Rey Downs. It ran a decent race first time out, going long at Del Mar. Thought process, we know how good he is, or she is, excuse me. This horse gets first time Lasix, but it's weird that comes back for 50 after that race in the main special weight against Thought Process. I know it got beat 7.5 lengths, but Thought Process is a good filly, and
there were 3 next out winners in that race too. That's a little like you wonder about that too, sort of like what you're saying with Nysos, because that was a good effort in the debut, and could come back and would be a logical contender, probably at the same level. Shillified, who we've played before, won next out. 9th place finisher won next out. Thought Process is a grade 3 winner. The horse was a little slow to get going, but really did close well late.
Yeah.
So I was like, between that visual and then the dropping in for 50, I was like, those are a couple things that were messing with me when I was looking at her.
Right. And you know what? It's weird because it's a homebred, right?
Right.
And maybe, Motown only 5,000 stud fee. So maybe they're just thinking, hey, let's try to get the win. And if somebody dips in for 50, we get the purse, we get the 50,
if not, then you get this horse eligible for a bunch of other races too. If
Correct.
you sneak this horse by,
Right.
So it's like that's a good poker play. If,
Right.
And like you said, if somebody claims the horse and for 50, it's not like 20 either. You get a nice little piece back for a horse that wasn't very expensive to breed.
Right. So those are the 3 I'm using. I'm using the 3, the 4, and the 6.
3, 4, 6. Gino, anybody else interest you in here as well?
This is where me and Skippy will go our separate ways, unfortunately. I actually, that race is pretty tough because you have 4 of the horses that exit the May 3rd race. You have Cloudy Women, you have Frog, who I love this name, makes me laugh. Frog. I was doing the show with Howard the other day, and he was ribbit just throughout the show. It's like, it cracks me up when you hit Frog for a horse. Infinity Dream and Ellie Moore all came out of there. And honestly, it's one of those races where I truly think you could probably make a case for each of the 4 of them coming out of that race. The 2 had a little bit of trouble, actually. Cloudy Women got shuffled back early in that race. Frog is likely the one they'll all have to catch. Infinity Dream drew the rail and then had to angle out wide. But the one that I actually am going to single in here, because I think a lot of people are going to do what Skip did. I think people are going to go 3, 4, 5 deep using the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in here. I'm going to single the 5, Ellie Moore. I think this horse is just primed for a monster effort. There is almost no speed in this race. I think Frog's going to go. And in the last race, Ellie Moore sat right behind Frog and was right behind Frog all the way up. And actually, early in the stretch, she had the lead. She loomed up. She took the lead. But look at that race. That was her first start in a full year. She just got tired. She was very likely to get tired. Look at the races that she has all at 50. She's run really well. Maiden 50. She finishes that good 4th off the bench. 2 starts back. That's going a mile. So that's too far for her. 3 starts back. She actually runs well, even at a mile and an 1/8. This 6 furlong distance is going to be way better for her. She gets to cut back from 6.5 and go second start back after the long layoff. I just think she's going to be sitting second. I think she's going to be more fit now. And you get a jock switch here with Juan Hernandez jumping aboard. So lots of little things in a race where people are going to use 4 or 5. Because for me, I like her feeling like she's got upside second start back and the trip that she could sit with the jock upgrade. So I have her slightly ahead of the others. So if I'm not using her, I'm going to use 4 or 5. So I'm going to take a stand right here and single in a spot where I don't think a lot of people will with the 5, Ellie Moore.
All right. And then just a little tidbit here. Nope. Then we didn't really talk about the 2, Cloudy Woman, who's actually 5-2 on the morning line. Hector Berrios actually took off the last race today. I have no idea why. There was no, it was 100 degrees. So maybe it was heat, who knows, but just keep that in mind we're all big Hector Berrios fans.
Oh, yeah.
So if you like a horse he's on tomorrow, just pay attention to that. So I figured I'd just point that out just in case. All right. Let's move on to race 9, Gino. These are, we're going 6 furlongs here, the restricted allowance horses here. What are your thoughts in this 8-horse field?
Yeah, a couple that'll be in the mix for me. I mean, there's not much early speed in this race either, honestly. That's like 3 in a row that we're talking about on paper. There not being a whole lot of speed. Because of that, I have to use the 3 Grayson Sun. I don't know who really pushes this horse early on. He's naturally the quickest, and he just fits really well at this level. If you look at the races he's been running at most recently, you might see 0 for 7 at Santa Anita. Remember that all of those are against better before these races started being carded. So now he's facing much, much better company for him, much softer company. So fits really well in here. I think the 1 Clements Ride, when you look at just the races that he's been in his entire career, he's by far faced like some of the best horses in here. He has 1 race where he dropped in for a tag with that 2 starts back race, and he won. And everything else, he's been facing pretty solid Calbred company, and I think he fits pretty well. He probably won't get as wide of a trip as he had last time out. He could save some ground down on the inside. I mean, most of who I have are logical. Bronco Nagurski obviously fits. He found the right level on the drop last time out. I think he's a major player in here. I'd have a tough time leaving him out. And I'll probably even use the horse to the outside, howbeit, because I do think a lot of people will look over and see Turf Paradise form and maybe dismiss. But again, we have to readjust like some of our perspective. And now these are horses that aren't facing 10,000 open claimers at Santa Anita. They're facing lower level horses. So those Turf Paradise races, they fit pretty well with a group like this. I think howbeit makes a lot of sense from the outside too. He's a 13-time winner overall, and he's got a little versatility to him too. He can show different running styles, which might be nice in a race like this. So yeah, pretty logical for me, but I'm going to use 4 of them. I think 1, 3, 4, and 8. Yeah,
Skip, the only thing I was going to mention that Gino just did is it's amazing how little speed there is. So it looks like A, the 3 probably could get away here, and B, that makes howbeit looks like howbeit's going to get the stalking trip, right? I mean, it's a wild how little speed in the 6 furlong race there is in here.
Yes, it is. You know, gosh, this is another tough race. I mean, these, you know, obviously we got to use the 4. I love that Mullins claimed it for himself, owner trainer. I love that. You don't see that a whole lot, but when they do that, that's usually a real good sign to me. He does great first off the claim, 33%. The 3 looks like the only speed. You know, I'm going to mention one that Gino did not. That's the 6, Major Tom. This horse got off real bad last time. But if you go back to 3 races before that, it won by 6.5. It won by a nose. It lost by 3/4 of a length. This horse was sharp. It likes Santa Anita. It likes to win. 6 is definitely going to be on my ticket. I don't know what to do with the 8. I want to put the 8 on the ticket because it's versatile. It's a win machine, but it is 8 years old. You know, Peter Miller's not having the best meet, so I'm a little skeptical there. But definitely I'm going to have 3, 4, and 6 on my ticket. I might add the 8 depending on how big the ticket is. I know I'm going, 3, 4 in most of these races, which I got to go light in the last race, and I think I can. So we'll see what happens going into the last.
Gino, when he says Major Tom,
I was just gonna. Okay, so this is my question. I was gonna ask you. This horse has run 31 times, over under 30.5 times that whatever analyst at the track has done the ground control to Major Tom. Right? I'm saying the over. I'm saying every time this horse has run, someone in the group is gonna make that Major Tom. I had it the other day. It happened. I've heard it. And that's why I almost didn't, because I feel like I've done it with this horse before, so I was going to sit it out, but good.
Well, you always sing, so I had to bring that up because that was popping. That pops in my head every time I see that horse. So we had to get to that. All right. Oh, yeah. Let's move on to the 10th and final. This is a very interesting race. 6.5 furlongs down the hill, optional claimer. Gino, what are your thoughts in this race to close it out?
Yeah, another, again, Lovely Idaho is definitely the horse to catch. And I have to include her in some of my tickets because there could be a chance turning for home. She's got a length or 2 lead on this field. So Lovely Idaho trying to win her third in a row. She makes some sense. But the horse who I actually like the most in here is Quick Brown Fox, the 2. I'm just going to put a line right through that last race. She was going a mile on the dirt. She did not get out of the gate well. And then that was it. The race was over. Seismic Beauty got the lead. She opened up. She crushed. We just saw Seismic Beauty come back to win a graded stakes race following that. So she's really tough on the front end. Quick Brown Fox gets back to the turf. And she actually doesn't need to be like, she has more early speed. She showed early speed in her career debut. I don't know if that's going to be her running style, but she doesn't have to be way out of it. I just like this spot, the hill, everything for her, I think is going to be a lot better. Quick Brown Fox is in the mix for me as well. The 2 that I'm probably going to be using, Invincible Molly, second start back off the bench. This horse comes out of a pretty good race last time out, and you can see they were just trying to figure out where she fit, and she dropped down a little bit last time, and she was in an optional 50. She was 6th inside. She was looking for room. She had to wait and then angle around. And honestly, that waiting might have been the difference between finishing second and winning for her. So I think she's a really good fit in here too. And I'll probably even have to use a horse like Beyond Lucky, who we always talk about loving horses with this profile, right?
Yep.
Who have shown some speed going longer. Now they cut back down the hill. Jonathan Thomas is fantastic with turf horses in general. And again, this is a horse that sort of fits the riding style of Kendrick Carmouche, who Skippy mentioned is going to be out here getting the George Wolf Award. So, hey, I'm out here to pick up some hardware. Why not see if I could win a couple races and get some of these horses on the front end? So he could have a nice little Saturday where he's got at least a few live mounts in here. This was a tough race, but there are 2 races that I'm in particular going to be able to shorten up. The race where I'll just go too deep with Nysos and Vlahos, and then I'll single in that race after. So that will give me the opportunity to use 4 or 5 horses in a race like this. That's pretty challenging.
Yeah. Skip Beyond Lucky, like you said, fits the profile. This is second off of 11-month layoff. The horse worked nicely on May 11th. Any other your thoughts about what were your thoughts on Grecian Goddess, the 9, switching from Chad Brown to Vladimir Serin?
That horse is definitely going to be on my ticket. I'm going to go 2 or 3 deep. I like Quick Brown Fox a lot. Like Gino said, I'm throwing out that last race. This horse ran really good on the grass. It's bred top and bottom for the grass. I think this horse will love coming down the hill. Came back to work good on the 7th. On the 15th, I really liked the work, not just because of the time, but the way she did it. Came back on the 28th. I like that too. I'm going to put Grecian Goddess in. That's going to be another one. This horse goes from Chad Brown to Vladimir Serin, like you said, Chappie. Comes out of some good races where the horses have come back to win. Last one was a grade 3. And if you look at the race at Keeneland, the grade 2 Appalachian, that was on a good track, good turf course. The one at Woodbine on a good turf course didn't run its best races. This horse, I think it needs firm ground, and I think this filly will get it this time. Obviously, we're going to get firm ground with the weather that we've had the last couple of days, so we don't got to worry about that good surface. I'm going to go 2 and 9 for sure. I might add the 8 Beyond Lucky also because it fits the profile. I'm going to take a stand against Lovely Idaho. So I will. I'm going to use the 8 also. So I'm going to go 2, 8, and 9, and maybe on one ticket I'm going to come back and I'm going to single the 2.
Yeah, I think Beyond Lucky. I love the work on May 11th. I think that horse fits perfectly, and I think you're right about Grecian Goddess. I think they might have sent that horse out here
looking for firm
turf, right?
Yeah,
very interesting. And like you said, they thought enough of that horse to run in a graded stakes second time out. So
right,
Chad Brown places him in the right spot. So they clearly, 8 to 1 is kind of a ridiculous number on that horse. So, well, obviously, Gino, we're looking into a big weekend. The pick 6 makes it very intriguing. Like you said, 99% of the people, 0.9, are going to be singling Nysos. So this already looks interesting. If somehow that horse gets beat, look out.
Yeah, and remember, 3 of the races that we just looked at are part of the Coast to Coast Pick 5. So I think races 10 and 11 at Gulfstream are the other 2. So take a look and put in a Coast to Coast Pick 5 because you're already more than halfway there if you're taking a look at the sequence for the Pick 6 tomorrow at Santa Anita. And guys, we're only a week away from the Belmont. Doesn't look like the field's going to be huge, but I think we're going to have the top 3 finishers from the Derby and possibly a Derby versus Preakness winner rematch. I don't think we've had the top 3 finishers from the Derby in the Belmont in like 10 years or so. I think longer than that. So it might not be quantity in that particular race, but a lot of quality there. We'll see, some really, really nice ones. And then don't forget about Rodriguez. He might be the lone speed right now. He kind of looks like he's a lot faster early than everyone else. So right now, shop.drf.com actually has a Belmont Stakes package. They'll give you all of the Belmont Stakes festival days together for like a 50% discount. So if you're going to be looking starting on Wednesday, go purchase that thing right now. They give you PPs all the way from Wednesday throughout the entire week. And then they give you clocker reports for Belmont Day and betting strategies. So it's like a massive saving if you're going to be playing those races next week.
Yeah, and Skip, obviously we'll talk about this race next Friday, but like Gino said perfectly, what lacks in quantity sure is nice in quality. And 3 of those horses come from right here in Southern California, Journalism, Baeza, and Rodriguez. So don't forget about the West Coast horses that everybody tends to rip on these days, Skip.
I agree. And, I was listening to the radio on Sunday, and Andy Harrington, the great clocker out there, he loves Rodriguez. He said this horse worked really good. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of speed, so Rodriguez is going to go to the front. And, I don't know, the field's not officially set yet, but Rodriguez looks
7
like
right now. Yeah. There's there's Sovereignty, Journalism, Baeza aren't fast early. Hill Road, not fast early. It's just nobody. And then the one that they just entered, Uncaged, he's not really fast early either. So we're truly looking at like Rodriguez, and then someone else is going to go early. Someone is going to. And Baeza is actually the one, remember, he was in front of Journalism in the Santa Anita Derby. He only came running late, I think, in the Kentucky Derby because of the post. Because he was left out wide, so that probably changed the way they ran. He's versatile. I think Journalism can be a little closer if he has to. And I got a couple boos when I was at the Preakness a few weeks ago, Chappie, when I went up on the stage, because I would do the West Coast, Best Coast when I was out there in Baltimore, and and everyone else is like looking around booing me, and I'm like, oh wait, I forgot where I am, and it was pretty funny. So I'd get the crowd riled up there.
Well done, Gino. Well done. All right, so everybody, good luck tomorrow with the Pick 6. Obviously, next week on Friday, same time, same channel, we will talk Santa Anita, but we will also get into the Belmont Stakes. So for Skip and Gino, I'm Chappie. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.